You're going to die someday. Sorry, had to say it. But here's the thing. You will probably die in a bed, surrounded by people who love you, maybe with some decent painkillers in your system and a TV on in the background. That is an absurd luxury. For most of human history, dying wasn't peaceful, it wasn't quiet, it wasn't managed. It was loud, slow, public, and creative, in ways that should never have been creative. Today we're ranking the most painful ways a human being has ever been killed, from bad but mercifully quick, to methods so elaborate you start wondering if the people who invented them needed serious professional help. Let's get into it. Crucifixion. Let's start with something you've definitely heard of but probably haven't thought about hard enough. Rome used it for centuries, mostly on slaves, criminals, and anyone who made the empire feel mildly inconvenienced. Here's how it actually worked. First, you got flogged, not a gentle warning tap. A full Roman flogging with a flagrum, a whip embedded with bone and metal pieces specifically designed to shred skin off muscle. By the time the flogging ended, your back looked like someone had fed it through a paper shredder. Then they handed you the crossbeam. Not the whole cross, just the horizontal part, which weighed around 75 to 125 pounds, and you had to carry it through the city streets while people threw things at you. Once they got you to the execution site, they drove nails, not through your palms like every painting suggests, but through your wrists, where the bone structure could actually hold your body weight without tearing through. Then they lifted you up and waited, and here's the part nobody talks about. You didn't die from blood loss. You didn't die from pain directly. You died from suffocation. Hanging by your arms caused your chest muscles to seize up. To breathe, you had to push up on the nail through your feet. Every single breath required lifting your entire body weight through a nail in your foot. So you'd push up, gasp air, slump back down, push up, gasp, slump. For hours, sometimes days, until your muscles gave out completely and you simply couldn't push up anymore. Death by exhaustion-induced suffocation in public, while Rome went about its Tuesday, Tier D because at least it eventually ended, burned at the stake, moving up. Medieval Europe had a punishment for heresy, witchcraft, and basically thinking too loudly in the wrong direction, being burned alive. And look, burning sounds fast. You've seen action movies, big explosion, quick death, dramatic music. No. Real burning at the stake was nothing like that. First, they tied you to a post in the town square. In front of everyone, the whole town came out. People brought snacks. This was entertainment. Then they lit the fire at your feet, not under you. At your feet, meaning the flames climbed slowly, starting with your shoes, then your legs. The heat would reach you before the flames did, blistering skin off muscle before anything actually caught fire. If you were lucky, and I use that word extremely loosely, someone in the crowd felt merciful and threw extra wood on to speed things up. If you weren't lucky, and most people weren't, the fire took 15 to 20 minutes to kill you. 15 to 20 minutes of conscious, aware, fully experiencing agony while an entire town watched and your body systematically destroyed itself from the feet upward. The smoke was the only mercy. Inhaling it could cause you to lose consciousness before the flames reached your chest. Could. Tier C, because at least it was over in under half an hour, unlike what's coming next. Rat torture. Okay. This one requires a moment of silence before we begin, because whoever invented this looked at a rat, a small, fuzzy, objectively harmless little creature, and thought, yes, weapon. Rat torture was used across various cultures but became particularly documented in medieval Europe and parts of Asia. Here's the setup. You're strapped down, completely immobile. A metal bucket or bowl is placed on your stomach, open side down, with a live rat trapped inside it. The rat, confused, terrified, and increasingly hungry, has only one direction available to it: through you. The torturer would then apply heat to the outside of the bucket. The rat, panicking with nowhere to go and survival instinct overriding everything else, would do what any cornered animal does. Start digging, through skin, through muscle, inward. The psychological component was often worse than the physical. The sound, the movement. the knowledge of exactly what was happening and being completely unable to stop it. Some victims reportedly confessed to literally anything within minutes. Others somehow didn't. Those people had a psychological fortitude that frankly deserves its own documentary. Tier B, because the body could theoretically survive this. The mind, however, filed its resignation immediately. Scaphism, the Persian boat method. You may remember this one from the punishments video, but it deserves a full revisit because the more you understand it, the worse it gets. The Persians took a prisoner, usually someone who had seriously offended the empire, and placed them inside two hollowed-out wooden boats fitted together like a shell, with holes cut out for the head, arms, and legs. Then they force-fed the victim massive quantities of milk and honey, not as a kindness. The milk and honey caused violent, uncontrollable diarrhea, which accumulated inside the boat, around the victim, warm, fermenting, in the sun. Their exposed skin, face, limbs, every accessible surface, was then coated in more honey. And then they waited. Within hours, flies arrived, then more flies, then insects of every variety drawn to the smell and the sweetness. Within a day, larvae hatched directly on the skin and began feeding. The fermented waste inside the boat created heat. The heat accelerated decomposition of the living tissue. The daily refeeding, because they came back every single day to pour more milk and honey in, kept the victim alive through the infestation. One historical account describes a man named Mithridates surviving this for 17 days. 17 days, conscious, aware, rotting alive in a swamp. While insects treated him like a buffet that kept getting restocked, Tier A, because it combined physical destruction with psychological annihilation and just kept going. Lingchi, death by 1,000 cuts. And here we are, the top, Imperial China, specifically practiced during the Tang, Song, and later dynasties, reserved their most extreme punishment for the most extreme crimes. High treason, killing a parent, crimes against the emperor himself. The punishment was called Lingchi, translated slow slicing, or as historians more dramatically but accurately call it, death by 1,000 cuts. This was not chaotic, it was not frenzied, it was the opposite. It was bureaucratic. A government-appointed executioner, a designated public space, a crowd, a schedule. The condemned was tied to a post or frame, fully conscious, in full view of everyone. And the executioner, trained, methodical, calm, began. Small cuts first, deliberate, shallow, designed specifically to cause maximum pain without hitting arteries, the arms, the legs, the chest. Each cut calculated to remove flesh in stages while keeping the nervous system fully online. The face was left untouched until near the end, so the crowd and the victim could witness the full deterioration with complete awareness. It could last hours. The final act was the removal of the heart. And the most disturbing part isn't the method, it's the paperwork. Historical records show the Chinese imperial system had documented procedures for this, official guidelines, approved cuts and approved sequences. This wasn't barbarism born from rage, it was policy, designed, refined, and bureaucratically maintained for centuries. Tier S because it combined maximum physical suffering with the psychological weight of knowing exactly what was coming, in what order, for how long, with absolutely no way out. So the next time you stub your toe and briefly consider filing a formal complaint with the universe.
So that wraps up our look at the Roman execution road. Thanks for stopping by, and be sure to subscribe before you go.